Hey guys, Jacob Barnhill with the Barnhill team at eXp Realty. Today I want to talk to you guys about a question I have with a lot of sellers. Pretty much every time we get offers in, especially in this market, is the highest offer the best offer? And not every time that may be the case. So I'm going to dive into some specifics to help you guys out with this question. So there's obviously a couple categories here that we want to consider. One of the things that we're going to do when we get a lot of offers in, or if we're considering a single offer, right, is we're going to look at all these variables. But if we get multiple offers, we're going to put it on a template that we have that helps us analyze apples to apples right next to each other, all these offers with all the variables, and we have it on a Excel sheet that we're able to put together for you guys to be able to weigh all this out. So one of the things is obviously price. Price can mean a lot to a lot of people, and it's something that we're trying to capture. If we're working with a buyer and we're making an offer, we obviously want to get something that's close to the seller's price. However, if we're working with a seller client and we're looking at things, we want to make sure that that matches the goal. That's usually something that we've established with that individual, with that client, is what price is important, what are we trying to do, are we just trying to make the most amount of money, and that may not be the only goal here. So price obviously is a huge factor. One of the other things is earnest money. Earnest money is that good faith estimate. That's the money that can either be for your buyer when they're making an offer, that could go towards their closing costs, or that can go towards their purchase price at the closing table. And the earnest money is going to tell us sometimes how serious a buyer is going to be, or what's their financial ability to be able to put some skin in the game, as I like to call it, and what are they willing to risk if they don't do what they say they're going to do in the contract. Now, that earnest money is going to go immediately. It's supposed to go as soon as possible to the closing attorney who represents the buyer usually, and that earnest money is going to get withdrawn from that buyer's account. That's going to go into a non-interest bearing account with the attorney, and it's going to stay there until the buyer and the seller agree to release that, either at closing or we're parting ways out of the purchase and sale agreement. So that's skin in the game that the buyer is going to put on the line, saying I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do in the purchase and sale agreement or the contract. All right, number 3, closing time frame. Closing time frame may matter a lot to a seller. It might not be just a 30 or 45 day close, which is typically what we see. A seller may need some extra time because they're trying to find their next home, and we have a buyer who maybe has some flexibility and things like that with that timing. Maybe they don't have one to sell, which is another point that I'll get into in a second, right? So that closing time frame may matter a lot to a seller, and that's one of the things that we'll look at when we get a lot of offers in from a buyer. Types of financing. So depending on the property, we're going to look at what are maybe some concerns or things that we want to avoid. Maybe we weren't even advertising certain types of financing. If, for example, we knew that the property needed some work, usually there's a lot of red tape with FHA and VA. Not that it can't work if there is work that's needed to the property, but there's a lot of buyers out there that will. Most of our buyers actually use FHA loans in our market, and sometimes with that being a government-backed loan, they want to make sure that they are backing that loan, and there's not as much risk to the home. Things that we'll see sometimes are there fire-safe doors for the garages? Are steps certain heights and depths? And do they have handrails that are a certain width for safety reasons? You need to be able to grab that handrail. All kinds of little things like that, right? Chipping paint, rotting wood. There's all kinds of things that, with a conventional loan, these things may not be an issue, but they very well could be if we have a VA or FHA. So depending on the property, as an example, we may want to avoid or say, hey, we probably are going to run into issues if we accept this type of loan, right? So that's one of those things that we want to look at. And obviously, if there's no financing, we have someone that's with cash, that would be great, right? Cash is always king. So professionals, and this is one that's really skipped a lot of times and makes me kind of cringe. when I see people that want to go for sale by owner and they don't think to look at things like this is what kind of professionals are you getting wrapped up with, especially if we have a seller who's on a timeline and they need to be able to sell a property, or it's going to cost them extra money if they are going to be out of that property, and maybe they moved out because they thought they had a contract, and oh man, we had a newer agent and they're working with a newer lender, or some lender maybe that we know because we do this every day, who's notorious for having contracts fall out because they're not running the checklist that they should up front. They're running them on the back end, and the seller is really betting on some of these things to get done. And those are some things that we want to look at and look at, okay, are we going to have these professionals that are a part of the transaction do a quality job, right? And that's really hard to know if you're not in it every day, but it's definitely something that you can still ask some questions around, which we do before we accept a contract, and we take that next step and get in that relationship with those individuals. So then the last one here is we have contingencies, which I kind of alluded to earlier. If we have a buyer who's contingent on selling a property, and then people sometimes maybe will miss and not think to ask more specifics, for one, on those contingencies. So is that property on the market? What kind of condition is that property, and what plan do we have in place as far as pricing that property? Maybe it's already under contract, maybe it's already through inspections. All things that we want to ask. And one that's missed a lot of times is how far does that daisy chain go, and what type of situation are we getting ourselves into if that seller has a buyer who's also contingent on selling one as well. And if we're going to accept the contract, we want to look at these things and really look at, okay, we need to maybe ask some questions around the situation that we have at hand, and is it going to fit for our situation? So these are just a few of the things, a lot of the main things that we'll look at when we go to accept a contract that we'll review with a seller. If you guys want an individual plan tailored to you guys, we could talk about some of these specifics. You guys know how to reach out to us. I'd be more than happy to spend some time with you guys. And thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Hey guys, it's Jacob Barnhill. I just wanted to hop in real quick and ask you guys to do me a huge favor. If you guys like these videos and more people can see this stuff, you can hit the like button and share it. That would be great. Also, subscribe to the channel so you get more notifications so you can check this stuff out in the future if you liked what you see here. Also, there's going to be a bunch of links below if you want to go check out our workshops, our events. We're doing stuff for investors, agents alike. We're doing tons of stuff. If you guys are interested in a career, working with us in another way, I have all the links to our websites below. Click those. Love the help. I appreciate it. We'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.